Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to shoot a little video about one of the film companies that made a big impression on me as a kid in the 80s, Canon Films. Canon Films was part of the Canon Group, American group of companies. Canon Films was founded by two guys, Christopher Dewey and Dennis Friedland, and in 1967 they started producing Swedish exploitation movies. They were bringing these in English language dubbed versions to the American market. Movies like Inga, movies like Made in Sweden with Christina Lindberg, but they would also produce movies of their own. Often they didn't cost a lot, and some of these movies made a lot of money. At the end of the 70s, they produced a string of movies that didn't do good at the box office, didn't do well at the box office, and then two Israeli cousins, Menachem Golan and Joram Globus, would take over the company. They bought the company for I think $500,000 in 1979. Golan and Globus were at that time big producers in Israel already, and in the 80s they would dominate the international market with their cheaply produced action movies. In 87 they had two big box office flops, and I think around 1989 they had a fight, and Globus and Golan would separate. Globus would continue Canon till 1994 with another guy, another producer called Christopher Pierce, and Golan would do movies on his own. That's the short history. In the 80s, I'm from 1978, so in the 80s I was a kid, and these Canon movies dominated my life. I knew this Canon logo by heart, could recognize it anywhere, but I wasn't aware which movies were produced by them. I was too young to be conscious of that. I didn't know that. My father rented a lot of movies of action heroes he liked, like Charles Bronson or Burt Reynolds or Chuck Norris. And Chuck Norris did a string of movies for Canon, but if we watch a movie like Hero and the Terror, or a movie like Silent Rage, two similar movies that Chuck Norris did, I didn't know which one was from Canon, or I wasn't even aware of production companies at all. So I wanted to show you 80 movies that I gathered over the years. Not consciously, I was looking for movies that I liked as a kid, and I want to show you these movies. It's that simple. I think during the 80s Canon owned most of the theaters over here in the Netherlands, and they had a big share. They owned a big share of the video market, distributing movies that were produced by other companies like Orion or Touchstone Pictures. I want to show you some of these because I own some tapes with the Canon logo, and I never knew why the Canon logo was on the covers of these tapes. So I'm going to show you these movies. A movie like Black Moon Rising had the Canon logo on it. Vestron Video, White of the Eye, good movie by Don Camel, also a Canon logo on it. Same goes for Last Exit to Brooklyn. I think I have many more. And these two movies produced by Touchstone Pictures, pretty good movies. Outrageous Fortune, Pat Midler and Shelley Long, underrated comedy, and this is also an underrated comedy, Tough Guys. But these movies weren't produced by Canon, but distributed by Canon over here in the Netherlands. In front of me is a great documentary about the Canon history, Electric Boogaloo, directed by, I think his name is Mark Hartley. another documentary came out around the same time, 2014, I believe, the Go-Go Boys. That one was good, but this one is gives you a lot of information, but also a lot of crazy anecdotes, and just a very entertaining documentary. And that Mark Hartley did some other documentaries about specific subgenres, specific time periods. He made Not Quite Hollywood, which also is amazing. It's a documentary about Australian exploitation cinema, the so-called Exploitation, and he did another one about cheaply produced movies in the Philippines. I don't own that one. Machete Maidens Unleashed. And these are all great. I have only one movie I own from the early period, 1967-79, the Dewey Friedland period, and that's a movie from 1970, which probably is one of the better efforts. I think it costed like $100,000 and made millions. Even received an Academy Award of Academy nomination. Peter Boyle stars in this one, and a very young Susan Sarandon. A good movie. The structure of the movie is reminiscent of a movie that came out a year before this one, Easy Rider. Same structure, same downbeat ending, and a very good movie, Joe. And in '78, when Golan and Globus didn't own Canon, they were already big in Israel. They produced a movie in '78, directed by Boaz Davidson. Yeah, I'll show you this one. It's this one. A fantastic skin flick, a lemon popsicle. I think out of the 3.4 million people that were living in Israel, and at that time 1.4 million went to the theaters to see this movie, Lemon Popsicle. Excuse me. It's an incredible skin flick, the best one I ever saw, with a lot of heart, a very downbeat and daring ending. It stars three guys, three completely different characters. One is a romantic dreamer, one is a sex-obsessed guy, good-looking guy who can get all the girls, and fat kid that provides the humor. I think this movie, I think eight sequels followed, and a reboot in the early 2000s. Most of the sequels are very good indeed as well. I think it's better than Porky or one of those movies that came out, the American counterparts. On the soundtrack, a lot of 50s, 60s music was featured that gives the movie its own vibe. Really good movie. I don't know if many people know this, but I know that Eli Roth in many interviews talked about this movie and its sequels. 1978, the year before they took over Canon, they produced this, masterful skin flick, Lemon Popsicle. In Holland, it also came out, or the sequels came out as Hot Bubblegum. Now, then we're in 1979, then the sequel to Lemon Popsicle came out, Lemon Popsicle Part 2, Going Steady. In the Netherlands, it came out as Hot Bubblegum, Going Steady. Great movies, great movie. Then in 1980, a movie came out, a horror movie that I haven't watched yet, but I own it, 1981. It's this one, The Godsend. I can't tell you anything about it because I never saw it, I'm pretty sure of that. Then in 1981, this movie came out, Part 3 of Lemon Popsicle, and this film film's original title was Hot Bubblegum, but for some reason in the Netherlands all the Lemon Popsicle films were renamed Hot Bubblegum. Don't know why that is, but it is what it is. In 1981, Luigi Cozzi did an Italian movie that Canon distributed or produced for the American market. Contamination, Alien Contamination, which was a clone of Alien, of course, and it's a pretty good, cheaply produced movie. I like it. And a great Arrow Blu-ray. And then in 1981 came the first of a trilogy, famous trilogy, started the ninja craze, Enter the Ninja, starring Franco Nero. Fantastic, brutal ninja exploitation flick. Very cool. Enter the Ninja. Always liked it. Then in 1981 this movie came out, a boxing movie starring a lot of black actors. One is Lion Isaac Kennedy, he was in the Penitentiary movies, and Muhammad Ali is in this one. I haven't watched this one yet, but I bought it because it's a remake of this movie, Body and Soul, a film noir from 1947, directed by Robert Rossen, starring John Garfield. Very good film, and I'm looking forward to watching this one. It won't be as good as this one, I'm sure of that, but yeah, I will enjoy it. Body and Soul. Then in 1980, 81, 81 I believe, then this came out, Lemon Popsicle Part 4, Private Popsicle, the three guys go to the army. This one was very successful because the fat kid got his own spin-off of this movie. I don't know if I ever saw that one, but there's a spin-off to it's a spin-off of this movie where he's on his own in the army. I don't know what the title is, but this one is Lemon Popsicle Part 4, Private Popsicle. All these first 4 movies that I showed you in this franchise, I own a UK DVD, English dubbed, VHS ports, I believe. They should release these movies on Blu-ray because they're incredible. Yeah, great skin flicks. Lemon Popsicle. Then a movie that Michael Winner directed, a sequel to Death Wish in 1982, Death Wish Part 2. In one of the videos I said that Death Wish 2 was one of the previous videos I did. I said that Death Wish 2 was my favorite. That's not, I don't know why I said that. The third one, that's my favorite. Also directed by Michael Winner, and also starring Ed Lautner. All these movies were done by Canon. This one in 1987 was not directed by Michael Winner, but by Peter Hunt. I think Peter Hunt did a movie with Charles Bronson and Lee Marvin, That Hunt, I'm not sure, but it's not that good, this one, and Jill Ireland is in this, his wife. But I like these 3 movies, the Death Wish movies, the Death Wish sequels, and this one is outrageous, just outrageous. Check them out, they're great. Then in 1982, Boaz Davidson went to America to do a almost shot-for-shot remake of his own Lemon Popsicle movie, the first one, and it's called The Last American Version. The 50s and 60s music weren't returning, those songs weren't returning to the soundtrack. Instead of those tracks, Davidson chose for famous tracks from the end of the 70s and the early 80s. It's a very nice remake for the American market. I don't know if it was successful, but I like it. The Last American Virgin. Then a movie with an all-star cast, 1982, That Championship Season. Great cast: Stacy Keach, Robert Mitchum, Bruce Dern, Martin Sheen and Paul Sorvino. It's about 5 old guys in a small town who are reminiscing about a time long gone when the town won the basketball championship. Yeah, it's okay. It's not a fantastic movie, but it's a very cool tape, I think. Then J. Lee Thompson, he was famous because he did The Guns of Navarone, very good adventure war movie, very famous one. And he did a lot of movies for Canon, often starring Charles Bronson, and this was from 1983, 10 to Midnight, a cop thriller, which is pretty cool. 10 to Midnight. Then in 1983, another Italian movie was brought to the American market by Canon. It's this movie starring the Hulk, Lou Ferrigno, Hercules, directed by Luigi Cozzi, and a very silly movie. All three of them were all 3 of these movies were done by Canon. Sinbad was directed by Enzo Castellari, a famous Italian schlock director who also directed Inglourious Basterds, of course. And I like these movies. I have a soft spot for them because the special effects are bad, and yeah, it's just a nice experience. Bad movies that are still watchable, aimed at kids, by the way. Pretty cool. Hercules. Then in 1983, the sequel to Enter the Ninja was released, starring Sho Kosugi, Revenge of the Ninja, the best ninja film of the franchise, of the trilogy. Check it out. Good movie. Then I'll show you part 5 till 8. Lemon Popsicle, part 5 through 8. The German title is Eis am Stiel. This is a German DVD box. The audio is dubbed in German. Yeah, they need to release these 8 movies in a great Blu-ray box set in the original language with English subtitles, or in the English dubbed versions. I don't care, because yeah, these are some of the best skin flicks that were ever made, in my opinion. That's it for Lemon Popsicle. Then in 1984, the 3rd part of the Ninja trilogy was released, starring Lucinda Dickey, who also starred in Breakin' and Breakin' Part 2 Electric Boogaloo. I don't own those movies. I saw them, but I don't own them. And this is a crazy, yeah, mix of ninja action, possession like in The Exorcist, and an aerobics movie, because it was released during the aerobics craze. Crazy movie, this one, not very good, but enjoyable. Ninja Part 3, The Domination. Oh. Then a movie that Joseph Zito directed. My father loved this one. I have seen this one so many times. Missing in Action, directed by Joseph Zito, who also did one of my favorite slashers, The Prowler. Yeah, the script of Rambo was circulating in Hollywood, and this was basically a rip-off. They produced the first film, and they were producing the second film. The first film wasn't released yet, and they saw the guys at Canon saw the dailies of the second movie, and they thought it was a lot better, that second movie, than the first one. So they released the second one as the first one, Missing in Action, a classic. Then I think this was a movie directed by Neil Jordan, Company of Wolves, a great horror slash fairy tale starring Angela Lansbury, with one containing one of the best werewolf transformation scenes in the genre. Very good film. I don't know if Canon produced this or participated in producing or only distributed this movie, but it's a cool movie, and you should check it out if you haven't seen this. It's a good movie, The Company of Wolves. And then there was this political thriller. It is okay. Great cast: Rob Mitchum, Rock Hudson, Alan Burstyn, Donald Pleasance, The Ambassador. An okay watch, but not a great movie. Produced by Canon in 1984. Then, in 1985, we have Missing in Action Part 2, The Beginning. An okay follow-up to Missing in Action. Yeah. 1985, Tobe Hooper did this movie, totally bonkers, Life Force. It's part science fiction, part apocalyptic movie, part vampire movie. A lot of nudity in it. It's not a good movie, but it's a movie that's just bonkers. You will like this one. You will enjoy this one. Life Force. Then in 1985, the first one of another ninja franchise started. The ninja craze was high at the time. American Ninja, I think Sam Furstenberg directed, and Michael Dudikoff and Steve James star. We loved it as kids, American Ninja. Joseph Zito did another movie with Chuck Norris in 1985. I think I like this one the best. My favorite Chuck Norris movie. It's an outrageous movie, as politically incorrect as they could ever come out. This one such a great movie, great bad movie. Let me rephrase. Chuck Norris has to fight terrorism on his own. Terrorism all over the country. He's always on time, and there's a lot of violence in this. Probably my favorite Chuck Norris flick ever, Invasion USA, directed by Joseph Zito. Great. And Richard Lynch is the bad guy. Hercules Part 2, The Adventures of Hercules. Luigi Cozzi again. You saw it on the Lou Ferrigno triple pack I showed you before, but this is the original tape, Dutch X-Rental tape. So cool. Hercules Part 2, yes. Then Dead Wish Part 3 was, of course, I've shown you that one. King Solomon's Mines, J. Lee Thompson, basically a cheap rip-off of Indiana Jones, starring Richard Chamberlain and Sharon Stone. It's okay. King Solomon's Mines. Then a movie I picked up a few months ago, but I've never seen it. Fool for Love, Robert Altman movie. Altman directed a movie for Canon. Starring Sam Shepard, Kim Basinger, Randy Quaid and Harry Dean Stanton. Haven't watched it yet, but will be cool. Then one of Canon's better efforts, nominated for some Academy Awards, based on the screenplay by one of my favorite directors, Akira Kurosawa, Runaway Train, starring John Voight, Eric Roberts, Rebecca De Mornay, directed by Andrei Konchalovsky. Three of convicts escape with a train in some of the worst weather conditions you will ever see on celluloid. Great. Runaway Train, very good thriller, this one. Then a movie, I like this tape. Vestron tape, X-Rental tape. The Delta Force, directed by Menachem Golan himself. Lee Marvin's last movie. Chuck Norris. The action scenes are great and cheesy with the motorcycle with the torpedoes coming out. Really cool, but I don't like the middle part. It's so politically incorrect. There's this pro-Jewish, anti-Palestina sentiment that's hard to take. Yeah, not my favorite anymore, but in those days, couldn't care less, of course. I was young, and yeah, this is the Delta Force, and Delta Force was released in 1986. Then a movie that J. Lee Thompson directed, again starring Charles Bronson. The X-Rental tape and the DVD, Murphy's Law, where Charles Bronson has to fight for his life because there's a wacky psychotic woman is trying to kill him because he's done something wrong in the past, and he also has to teams up with an annoying female criminal. It's an okay movie, the Murphy's Law. Then George P. Cosmatos, he did another movie with Sylvester Stallone, Rambo Part 2, First Blood Part 2. I love that movie. This one is okay. The Vigilante movie, 1986. Yeah, Cobra, also starring Brigitte Nielsen. Yeah, I think one of the more famous ones that Canon produced. And in 1986, Tobe Hooper would do another movie for Canon, a science fiction movie, a remake, quite cheesy this one, Invaders from Mars, starring the little kid from Wim Wenders' masterpiece Paris, Texas, Hunter Carson, but also Louise Fletcher is in it, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and Karen Black. Yeah, it's okay, it's enjoyable, but the original one from 1953 is much better in my humble opinion. And in 1986, Tobe Hooper would do another movie for Canon, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, sequel to his own movie, with a lot more gore than the original one, and it's also hell of a lot cheesier, this one, starring Dennis Hopper. But yeah, enjoyable. Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. Then in 1986, this political thriller came out, Avenging Force, with the team that was successful in American Ninja, Michael Dudikoff and Steve James. This is one of those movies where the plot consists of with a plot surrounding a manhunt, like The Most Dangerous Game, or later on Hard Target, or Surviving the Game, and it's quite enjoyable cheap action flick from Canon. Yeah. Then a killer monkey movie, like Shakma, like Monkey Shines, but this one wasn't that scary, to be honest. Link, starring Elizabeth Shue and Terence Stamp. Movie directed by Richard Franklin, who did the sequel to Psycho, very good slasher, Psycho Part 2, and he did the Exploitation movie Road Games, which was yeah, kind of a rip-off of Spielberg's Duel. This one is enjoyable, but it's not scary or bloody or something like that. But Elizabeth Shue and Terence Stamp are in it, and it's quite an enjoyable watch. Link. Then an Elmer Leonard adaptation from 1986, directed by John Frankenheimer. Great Arrow Blu-ray, this one, starring Roy Scheider and Anne Margaret. John Glover, I think, yeah. Quite a good movie, this one. 52, pick up. Then J. Lee Thompson did a movie, but this one didn't star Charles Bronson. by Chuck Norris, and he would team up with Louis Gossett Jr. For this yet another Indiana Jones ripoff that we loved as a kid, Firewalker. This one I also rented a lot as a kid, Aladdin, starring Bud Spencer, Italian movie directed by Bruno Corbucci, brother of famous Italian spaghetti western director Sergio Corbucci. Aladdin is silly, but we liked it as kids. A movie about a genie in a bottle played by Bud Spencer, who has to help out a teen who is in troubles. In this movie, the girlfriend of the teen was played by the daughter of Bud Spencer. And when we were kids, we loved this movie, Aladdin. Yes, then in 1987, the sequel to King Solomon's Mines was released, Alan Quatermain and the Lost City of Gold, starring Richard Chamberlain and Sharon Stone. I think this is the better one of the two, because James Earl Jones and Henry Silva are in this in hilarious roles. Yeah, check it out, it's very silly. Alan Quatermain and the Lost City of Gold. Then a movie about arm wrestling we really liked, Over the Top. It's not a good movie, of course, but we liked it as kids. Directed by Menachem Golan himself and starring David Mendenhall as the very annoying kid. But yeah, a Canon classic, not very good, but a classic. Then in 1987, Canon produced a romantic comedy. Maybe they were lifting on the success of Weird Science, I don't know, because I think they were released at the same time. But in this movie, Andrew McCarthy falls in love with a mannequin dress-up doll, and in the evening she comes to life every evening as Kim Cattrall. Very beautiful. Silly movie, but quite enjoyable, Mannequin. Then a movie I don't think I have ever seen, but I own it. I think there's a small part for this in this for Courtney Cox. It's a crime thriller, Down Twisted. It's directed by now famous B movie director Albert Pyun, but I never saw this one, Down Twisted. Then Steve James and Michael Dudikoff returned for American Ninja Part 2, The Confrontation, movie that I always liked, again directed by Furstenberg in 1987. And then the famous flop, the beginning of the ending of the end of Canon, Superman Part 4, The Quest for Peace. Special effects, they didn't want to they didn't want to put a lot of money in this movie. Bad special effects, bad box office results. Yeah, it's the worst from the first four movies, of course. Superman Part 4, The Quest for Peace. And then there was another movie in 1987 that flopped. The returns weren't good. Masters of the Universe. We loved this movie when it came out. We were children, and we loved the Lou Fleischer cartoon, Lou Schneider cartoon. Yeah, Lou Schneider, I think his name was. The cartoon series, we loved it, and we thought that Dolph Lundgren was an excellent He-Man. Frank Langella is Skeletor. Mac Foster is in this one. Again, a very young Courtney Cox, and yeah, it didn't do well at the box office. Directed by Gary Goddard. Then one of my 3 favorite movies that Canon ever did. Again, 1987, directed by Barbara Schroeder. It's Barfly, To All My Friends. Yes. Mickey Rourke is excellent. He plays the famous American poet Charles Bukowski, who's always drinking in his bar. Faye Dunaway is in this movie. Frank Stallone, brother of Sylvester Stallone, is in this movie as the barkeeper. Fantastic movie, black comedy, little tragic, little black comedy. It's a fantastic movie in my opinion. Barfly, one of Canon's best. And then there was, in 1987, we saw it already previously, but I do own the ex-rental tape of Death Wish Part 4, The Crackdown. Again directed, this one was directed by J. Lee Thompson, so Winner only directed the second and third one. Fourth one was directed by J. Lee Thompson, didn't know that. But okay. Cool tape. Death Wish Part 4, The Crackdown. And then there is this famous movie. I'm so glad I own it. It's a bad movie, let me say that. It's a very bad movie. But I first want to show you these two great comedies that I always liked. Every Which Way But Loose and Any Which Way You Can. Starring Clyde the orangutan. And Menachem Golan wanted to make a movie about the friendship of a little boy and a monkey. Everybody who has enjoyed the documentary Electric Boogaloo will remember the anecdote about the interview of Clyde and the manager of Clyde. But he wanted to cast Clyde, Menachem Golan, and on the first day of shooting, Clyde bit the little annoying kid from over the top, David Mendenhall, and then Clyde was replaced. Bye Clyde. And he was replaced by a small actor in a monkey suit. It's an unbelievably bad movie, but it could be interesting for anyone who hasn't seen it, because it's so bad that maybe you can get some enjoyment out of it. Going Bananas, starring David Mendenhall and Dom DeLuise. Preposterous movie. Maybe the worst one that Canon ever produced, but you have to see it for yourself. Going Bananas. Going Bananas, I say. And then there was the third part in the Missing in Action trilogy, Braddock Missing in Action Part 3. In my opinion, the least enjoyable of the three. Then in 1988, Nude Arnold did my favorite Canon movie ever. I know there's a lot of nostalgia attached to this one, of course. Bloodsport, starring the Muscles from Brussels, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Forrest Whitaker, Donald Gibb, and the amazing Bolo Young. I loved him, great villain. Paul Herzog did the music. Watched this over and over again with my brother, with my friends, and I still watch this one because it's incredibly cheesy. Over time it has become incredibly cheesy. I love this movie, Bloodsport. Then a little Agatha Christie, Michael Winner directed, 1988, Appointment with Death, starring Lauren Bacall and Carrie Fisher, who's Piper Laurie, and as Hercule Poirot, Peter Ustinov, the Belgian detective. Enjoyable mystery, not great, but an okay watch. Then a strange entry in the Canon oeuvre, Powakatsi. I think Koyaanisqatsi is a masterpiece by Godfrey Reggio. I never had much love for this sequel, Powakatsi, produced by Canon. The music is great, again Philip Glass, but the movie was a little bit lackluster. This one made a big impression on me, blew me away. This one didn't. But Pawakatsi, yes. Then the little serial killer movie that was directed by William Tannen, starring Chuck Norris, Hero and the Terror, movie that is similar to Silent Rage, a movie he did a few years earlier. He's of course the hero, Chuck Norris. The Terror, the serial killer, is Jack O'Halloran, and I knew him when I was a kid, of course, because he was one of the three opponents of Superman in Donner's Superman Part 2. Watch this movie, be surprised. There's one scene in this, it's unbelievable. I've never seen any actor faint on screen so convincingly as Chuck Norris. It's hilarious. Check it out, Hero and the Terror. Then another violent cop thriller that J. Lee Thompson did with Charles Bronson, and this one is quite good. I like this one, Messenger of Death. Yeah, Messenger of Death. And then another movie from 1988. It's okay, this drama. A Cry in the Dark, directed by Fred Scapese, who did Roxanne, I think, the comedy with Steve Martin I like. Yeah, this was that movie starring Meryl Streep, Sam Neill, about the Australian woman who claimed that her baby was abducted or taken by a dingo. Cry in the Dark, yeah. Then another movie that J. Lee Thompson did with Charles Bronson, Kinjaiti, I think you pronounce it like that, Kinjaiti, Forbidden Subjects. Long time ago since I last saw it. I remember it to be okay, but yeah, it's too long ago. Then this movie from 1989, the third part in the American Ninja series. Steve James returned, Michael Dudikoff didn't, I don't know why, but David Bradley replaced him. He after this he had a whole straight-to-video martial arts cinema career, so that was cool. And this is American Ninja Part 3, Bloodhound. And then Canon was planning to do a sequel to Masters of the Universe, and was planning to do a live-action version of Spider-Man. Both contracts were cancelled because they weren't doing well financially with Marvel and Mattel. But the sets were already built, so Albert Pyun did a movie where he used these sets, and it's this cool post-apocalyptic actioner Cyborg starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, a movie that I like now. I like it more now I'm an adult than I liked it back then. Yeah, great cheesy film, moody and cheesy at the same time. Cyborg. Oh, few movies to go. Because in 1989, around that time, 1990, 1989, Golan and Globus had a breakup, of course, weren't doing well financially, and Globus went on with Canon with another guy, Christopher Pierce, Globus Pierce period, and this is a movie they produced, Canon produced during that period. Kickboxer, Jean-Claude Van Damme starring. We loved this movie almost as much as we love Bloodsport. Yeah, Dennis Chan is in this one, and yeah, who was the guy that plays Tong Po? no, don't see the name of the actor, Michel Sisi or something like that. But yeah, we love this movie, of course. Kickboxer, 1989. And in 1989, Michael Dudikoff would do this jungle adventure, River of Death, directed by Steve Carver. He did A Lone Wolf McQuade and An Eye for an Eye with Chuck Norris, not for Canon. And this one also stars Robert Vaughn and L.Q. Jones, and Donald Pleasence and Herbert Lom, who did a few movies for Canon in those days. This one is okay, River of Death, jungle adventure. Then a crime thriller / drug drama, which was pretty okay. This one, Crack House, only own this one on VHS, starring Shaft, Richard Roundtree. Yeah, pretty okay, this one, Crack House. Then the first Agatha Christie adaptation I ever saw, 10 Little Indians, and then there were none, starring Herbert Lom and Donald Pleasence again, and Frank Stallone, brother of Sylvester Stallone. We knew Frank Stallone as long as we knew, around the same time as we knew Sylvester Stallone, as Frank Stallone and Sylvester Stallone. Yeah, I saw the documentary about Frank Stallone a few weeks ago. It was pretty cool. Always living in the shadow of his brother. I always liked this one. Then, Globus and Golan were fighting, and they would produce a movie about this forbidden dance, each on their own. And this was Lambada, which was quite bad, and the other one I never saw, The Forbidden Dance, because they couldn't use Lambada in the title. This one is maybe a little bit watchable, but it's not a great movie, any means. And then in 1990, Delta Force 2 came out, which I like a little better than the first one. The Colombian Connection, also starring Billy Drago as the bad guy. Always liked him. Was also in Untouchables. So this movie was from 1990. Lambada was also from 1990. Few movies to go. First, I'll show you this one. We loved it as kids because Michael Dudikoff returned. So David Bradley and Michael Dudikoff would team up, two American ninjas in one movie. We loved it. American Ninja: The Annihilation, part 4 of the franchise. Then in 1991, for some reason, American Ninja, they loved titles. People loved titles with the word American in it. So Canon produced American Kickboxer, Canon video, starring John Barrett, Keith Vitale. Pretty forgettable movie, but we liked all those American martial arts movies, or American produced martial arts movies. So this one we rented a few times. And then in 1991, brother of Chuck Norris Aaron Norris would direct his brother Chuck Norris in this one, a pretty awesome action crime movie, The Hitman, also starring Michael Parks. I like this one, The Hitman. And then in South Africa in 92 they would shoot I think it's an unofficial sequel to American Kickboxer, To the Death, again starring John Barrett and Tong Po, Michel Kisi with a Q, okay. And it was okay, To the Death. And then in 1991, another movie with American in the title, starring David Bradley and Mark Dacascos, American Samurai, which is quite enjoyable, and is really a take on Bloodsport, where the bare knuckles were replaced with weapons. Yeah, pretty cool movie, American Samurai. And then there are debates about which movie was the last one that Canon produced. Some people claim it to be a movie that Jeff Speakman did, Street Night, I think that one was, but I think that one was released in 93. I think they're wrong. This one was released in 94, Hellbound. Again, directed by Aaron Norris, and an action thriller starring Chuck Norris with a supernatural touch. Always liked this one, Hellbound. So this was probably the last official movie under the Canon logo. This one is lying here, the two movies in a triple pack, together with Forced Vengeance, not a Canon movie. And then in 94, on the video market, this Canon movie was released. Maybe even a year later in America, but over here I think in 94, American Ninja Part 5. Straight to video, David Bradley and Pat Morita in the worst entry in the franchise. And then I heard that the real last official movie of Canon for the video market was this one, because this one was released in 94 in the Netherlands, but in America this was released in 1996, very late. Chain of Command, war actioner with Michael Dudikoff. And the last movie I'm going to show you is not an official Canon movie, but Menachem Golan bought a production company, 21st Century Film Corporation, and with that production company he would make a Death Wish Part 5. This one, The Face of Death, starring again Michael Parks, and her, I always liked her from the television series North and South, Leslie Ann Down, Charles Bronson. And this is the last movie I wanted to show you. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm not an expert on Canon, but yeah, a lot of movies were made that I loved from Canon. And yeah, if you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Maybe I will do another movie topicking a specific genre. And yeah, I hope yeah, you'll tune in next. Take care, goodbye.